Okay, December 2012, and Ted brought this along to the club. Bowden White Wings, 1947, and it's been in his loft since 1950-ish. So before I was born, actually. He bought it from a junk shop, flew it once as a free flighter, landed in a tree, and it's been in the attic ever since. And as you can see, the front end's missing, and there's actually quite a lot missing. This is of course just the fuselage, and by the time I started to strip that, the thing was soon looking very sad for itself, and it's at this point that you start to think, perhaps I shouldn't be doing this. But from this point, it can only get better. And with a few spruce splints and pegs, I soon started to put the fuselage back together again. Okay, here's the fuselage now. It's December 13th, so it's 2 weeks since I started on this monster. Gradually filling in the missing framework. As you can see, there are now several extra supports. Plate that holds the wings, and the patches in the sides are being filled in. On top, the shrunken balsa planking had given a sort of a starved dog appearance, and that's gradually being filled in with very light filler. The servos are in there temporarily, just to give an idea of where they might be. The front's been strengthened up. You can see a couple of big holes there. It looks like this thing's been shot up by a Messerschmitt or something. You can see here the extra woodwork and the replacement woodwork that's been necessary. The two wing halves and the tailplane have all had 24 hours in a bath of water, held just under the surface by some dinner plates resting on them. Didn't want them to go right down so that they take on the shape of the bottom of the bath, so we've managed to soak it, and now it's they've been laid out with lots of weights around them so that they flatten out during the drying. Most of the weights have now been removed. I'm just taking this one off. Paper underneath to absorb the moisture that wasn't wiped off, and that's pretty much got rid of the wrinkles around the trailing edge. That there was a twisted rib, and I've put a splint on that while it's drying out, so hopefully it'll dry nice and straight. The original build wasn't great, so typical of the period. Some of these ribs are not square, so I might be adding thin spar to help straighten up the ribs a little, and also to add some foundation for the covering. Otherwise it's going to sag between those ribs. Repairing the tailplane for its moving surfaces, and also the nose has now started to come together. The wing still had a bow in the trailing edge, and I had to fill in underneath as well as cap all the ribs, because there was a step down from the trailing and leading edges to the actual ribs, so that was the same with the tailplane, so they had to be capped. The wingtips had to be built up at the front because there was wash in rather than wash out. So there it is, pretty much ready for covering. 6'6" span, now with electric motor and 3-channel radio hidden away there, and more soon.